many items of interest in this Aid to Localities bill. I'd like to speak about a locality that's not in this bill, but I sincerely hope and I sincerely desire and pray will be addressed by the time we complete a final budget here in this fiscal year. The North Rockland community, which my colleague and I have spoken about on this floor and in many other venues here in the Capitol and elsewhere a number of times over the years, is much like any other mid-sized suburban community. It's a very blue-collar community with New York City commuters, many policemen, many firefighters, many government employees. The unique difference that North Rockland has compared to many other, if not every other community in New York State, is that these two towns, Haverstraw, represented by my colleague, and the town of Stony Point, which I'm proud to represent, and the school district that they capture, is on a high-speed train headed to a fiscal cliff of bankruptcy. Right now, the North Rockland community, I would venture to say, has 2 years, maybe 3 left of solvency. Never in New York State history has a school district, to my knowledge, come to Albany, come to New York State to hand over the keys because they say they can no longer provide an education to their students. About 10 years ago, catastrophe hit this school district, these two towns, this community. North Rockland hosted 2 power plants, one in Stony Point, one in Haverstraw. In Stony Point, the Lovett power plant, a coal power plant, was closed about 10 years ago, about a decade ago. And around that same time, the Bowline power plant, which is in my colleague's assembly district, was significantly reduced to a peak power plant. So it only runs when there is a significantly high need of energy. So it operates at a very tiny fraction of what it did about 10 years ago. About a dozen years ago, these 2 power plants, these 2 properties in this mid-sized community of North Rockland paid a combined $46 million annually in property taxes to the North Rockland Central School District. $46 million. Today, these 2 properties pay $2 million, a $44 million annual hit since this catastrophe struck about 10 years ago. To make matters worse, however, this energy company at the time, Mirant, which is a national, very large energy company, sued and started a tax certiorari proceeding. They challenged their tax assessment on the power plant in my colleague's district, the Bowline power plant. The energy company was successful, and as a result, including interest, the North Rockland School District has to pay back, on top of the $44 million annual hit in revenue, they have to pay back $365 million to Mirant. $365 million. This predates me, but this House actually had to pass special legislation to offer an extended period over which the school district could pay back this loan, 30 years, or these bonds rather, 30 years. So over these 30 years, about $12 million annually flies out the door of North Rockland. That's $12 million that doesn't go to classrooms, to programs, to activities, to teachers, or to relieve the property tax burden in the North Rockland community. So a $44 million hit on the revenue side and a $12 million hit both annually on the expenditure side in this struggling mid-sized community starting about a decade ago. Since then, as you can imagine, there have been deep, deep cuts to the North Rockland Central School District. Over these 10 years, 400 layoffs, 400 positions cut from North Rockland. 2 schools closed, in addition to 2 non-instructional buildings closed and no longer in use. And make no mistake, some school districts, they close down schools because their enrollment's declining. Enrollment has held steady in North Rockland for the past 10 years. So this has nothing to do with a reduction in the number of students attending schools in this community. About a dozen years ago, commercial taxpayers made up 60% of the North Rockland tax levy. Residential payers made up 40% of the tax levy. Today, to make up for that tremendous loss from 2 properties, residents pay 68% of the school property tax bill, up from 40%, and commercial is now down to 32%. So in effect, homeowners in North Rockland, in addition to all these cuts, have had their property tax bills double and triple. It is quickly becoming a ghost town as a result. More than 50% of the students in North Rockland are free and reduced lunch. Like I said, this is a working class, blue-collar community that has been devastated. But the North Rockland School Board and administration, despite all of this, have prudently planned over these last 10 years to try and survive. So they've cut into and they've planned and they've chipped away at their reserves over these years to try and cushion some of these blows, some of these cuts. And again, 400 layoffs, 400 positions. So we've got about 2 years left. When the school board is going to adopt their budget 2 years from now, when that budget's adopted based on their projections, they will have 1.9% of their reserves left, basically zero. They'll be out of money. And at that point, they're off the cliff. In between now and that point, we are going to see deep, 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 deep cuts along the way these next 2 years. And when they adopt that budget in 2 years with basically zero reserves and being penalized by the comptroller, which offers penalties once you get below 10%, when they're at basically zero, they will be drawing up plans to hand over the keys to this body, to Albany, to New York State, because they will not be able to offer an education to the students in their community. My colleague and I, alongside the speaker, who we're so grateful for in championing this issue, have now pushed for a number of sessions to get relief to this community. Everyone's school districts in New York State, everyone's school districts who we all represent are unique in all kinds of different ways. But I find it hard to believe, and I challenge anyone to present to me a more uniquely, fiscally stressed situation than the one that is going on in North Rockland, Mr. Speaker. So it is not in this bill. This is a locality that's not getting aid in this Aid to Localities bill. But we pray and we hope that the conversations that we know are ongoing will bear fruit. This is one of the school districts, the 1%, less than 1% of school districts with half-day kindergarten. We've already been told that if nothing changes, they're going to be the only district with no kindergarten. We actually don't mandate any kindergarten here in New York State. They will have no kindergarten in a couple of years if we don't do anything. So, we talk about a lot of issues of statewide and local importance. I implore the stakeholders who are continuing to talk about this, who are continuing to fight alongside Ken Zabrowski and I, all the advocates who delivered 10,000 signatures just a few months ago to the governor and to the legislature, begging for help. I am asking my colleagues here, I'm asking all those involved as we reach the 11th and a half hour to please deliver that help so we're not faced with that bankrupt school district coming to us and handing off the keys.